We are living in the richest, most comfortable period in human history. Yet psychologically, we are completely miserable. We have an abundance of stuff and endless opportunities, but we feel emotionally bankrupted. Look at the cultural messages we absorb every single day. We are constantly told we need to become happier, healthier, smarter, and wealthier. We buy new products and chase life hacks, hoping to fix our image and boost our satisfaction. But chasing all those enhancements actually backfires. By obsessing over what we want to become, we actively remind ourselves of what we supposedly lack right now. The more desperately you try to force a positive experience, the worse you will ultimately end up feeling. This flowchart maps the feedback loop from hell. Imagine making a mistake. Naturally, you get angry, a normal baseline emotion. Conditioned to stay positive, you judge yourself for it. Now you're angry about being angry, creating a meta-emotion. The way out is to recognize an inverse rule. Pursuing the positive generates negative emotions. But accepting your negative experiences, embracing your failures and your flaws, actually brings a deeply positive sense of relief. Escaping this destructive loop means stopping the relentless attempt to be perfect. You have to let go of the cultural mandate to feel good all the time. Choosing not to give a fuck doesn't mean acting like an indifferent sociopath. It means deciding what you actually care about and choosing to be comfortable with being different from the crowd. To do that, you have to understand the biological utility of pain. If you touch a hot stove, physical pain provides an immediate, necessary warning to pull your hand away before you burn to the bone. Psychological pain works the exact same way. Negative emotions like fear, anxiety, or sadness are biological signals telling you that something in your life is out of balance and requires your attention. When we try to numb those signals with alcohol, shallow distractions, or fake positivity, we ignore the warning. We actively prevent ourselves from addressing the underlying issues causing the pain. Pain isn't a bug in human evolution that we need to eradicate. It is a highly effective feature designed to spur us into action. This diagram shows a framework we can use to diagnose that pain. Think of self-awareness like an onion with multiple layers. The superficial outer layers are straightforward. First is identifying the emotion you're feeling, like sadness or frustration. The second layer is understanding the immediate reason why you feel that way. To enact real change, we have to reach the deepest core of the onion, our personal values. These underlying metrics dictate how we define success and failure for ourselves. If you prioritize bad, extrinsic values, like chasing material wealth or constant pleasure, you rely on outcomes outside your control. Good values, like honesty, curiosity, or humility, are entirely intrinsic and manageable. When you peel back the layers, you find that long-term misery rarely comes down to bad luck. It almost always stems from evaluating your life using terrible metrics. A happy life is not a life without problems. Problems never stop. You just exchange them for better, more meaningful problems. Take guitarist Dave Mustaine. He was kicked out of Metallica right before they hit it big. He went on to form Megadeth, sold millions of records, and became massively famous. Yet decades later, he still felt like a failure because he kept measuring himself against his former bandmates. Contrast that with Pete Best, who was kicked out of the Beatles. His music career completely stalled, but he eventually shifted his metrics. He measured his success by his loving marriage and his family, and found genuine happiness. Both men suffered a massive public rejection. But they highlight a critical distinction: the difference between fault and responsibility. You may not be at fault for the trauma that happens to you, but you are always responsible for how you respond to it. When we stop blaming the world and take active responsibility for our own reactions, we strip away paralyzing victimhood and replace it with actionable power. Part of taking that responsibility requires dropping the modern delusion of exceptionalism. When you accept the mundane truth that you are mostly average, an immense amount of pressure just evaporates. It requires us to admit that our brains are flawed and our memories are imperfect. By embracing uncertainty, we stop desperately defending our ego-driven beliefs and open ourselves up to actual growth. The goal isn't to stop caring entirely. We are wired to care. The real art to a good life is carefully curating your priorities, choosing your values deliberately so you only suffer for the things that truly matter.